Hello students, good morning to all of you. Welcome to this virtual class. After that Diwali back, we will start new chapter, that is that employment, growth, information and other issues. What do you mean by unemployment or meaning of unemployment? Before we start that employment, growth, information and other issues, I will ask that question: why you are coming to school and what is the objectives, as well as your fathers, they are working in the different places. People do their variety of work. Some others farmers, they work in the farm. Some are in the factories, some are in banks, some are in safes, some are in shops, and many other workplaces. And there are some people, they are working at home also. Work at home, it means like your mother is preparing the food at home. It means work at home includes not only the preparation of food home, not only that traditional work like that weavers weaving or different kinds of handicrafts works, but at present time the work at home means the different programs or programming in the IT industry, those who are working at home. You know very well, due to this COVID-19 pandemic, most of the people they are working from home due to that invention of technology or advancement technology, that is due to that IT industries. Previously, people were working in the factory located in that cities, areas or the towns. But at present time, the technology has already advanced and the technology has enabled people to produce those factory based goods at home in different villages. Dear students, so work plays an important role in our lives as individuals, as a member of societies. Every rational man aims to get engaged in certain work to earn a livelihood. Some works in the factories, some works in the farms, some works in the banks, some works in the shops, some works in the IT industries. Different people do their work in different places. So, important points here that about the work. The people who work in the different places, the objective is that employment. The objective is that to earn something. The objective is that they have to survive their lives. The objective is that they have to construct their own buildings. The objective is that they have to provide that better education to their wards. So that is called that earning a living. So employment is an activity from which a person earns means of livelihood. Employment is an activity from which a person earns means of livelihood. A person earns. So employment means a person earns means of livelihood. Means of livelihood. It means to satisfy their needs, people are engaged or people are employed. Why do people work? Work plays an important role in our lives, as may be the individual, as may be the societies. They have to earn that money, and money helps to fulfill their needs. Money helps to fulfill their goals or their objectives. This does not completely satisfy anybody. Being people employed in work gives a sense of self-worth and enables us to relate ourselves meaningfully with others. Every working person is actively contributing to the national incomes and the development of country by engaging in various economic activities that helps to earn their living or earn their livelihoods. So it means when people do their work, they contribute some things toward the national incomes, which goods or services that people provide that will be useful for ourselves. We have a sense of accomplishment when we work to meet the requirements of those who are dependent on us. Because you are the students, you depend on your fathers so that people do their work or they are employed and they are earnings. That is why that people are engaged in different places or different works. That is why Mahatma Gandhi, who is called the father of nations, who told that education or the literacy which provide that knowledge or to train that persons, provide the skills like to become that employed and earn that more and more incomes. So that is why education is most important factors who provide that employments. Whenever we are talking about that employments, it means we work not only for ourselves but also for those who depend on us. You know that you are depending on your fathers. So the study of working people gives us insight into the quality and nature of employment in our country and helps in understanding and planning our human resources. Let us first understand a few basic concepts relating to employment such as workers, labor force and workforce. Worker, labor force and workforce. Worker, labor force and workforce. Labor work, worker, labor force and workforce. Meaning of workers. Who is to be called that worker? A worker is an individual who is involved to some economic activity to earn a living. Worker is an individual. Worker, who is called that worker? Worker is an individual who is involved to some economic activity. Involved in some economic activity. You have already known what are the economic activities. So why he is involved in that economic activities? To earn a living. The objective is that to earn a living. इसको किस तरीका से जीना है, किस तरीका से इनको रहना है, तो that is why he become that worker. He wants to become that engaged. He wants to employed in such a way that he can contribute towards something towards our national incomes. That is called that he engaged in the different economic activities. I will discuss later on what do you mean by economic activity, because we have already known that economic activities. So economic activities in the sense primary, secondary, tertiary, etc. So it means a worker contributes to the process of gross domestic product or GDP by rendering his services or rendering his productivity activities. Remember it. Whenever a person is engaged in different economic activities or any economic activity, he contributes some things toward that production, and that contributes helps, or that contributions helps to the process of gross domestic product or GDP whenever the worker render his services or worker rendering his productive activities. Suppose a farmer or a bank manager or a laborer or a doctor or a barber or a profession, anybody else, etc. These are to be called as that example of that workers. So worker is an individual who is contribute some things toward the domestic product or gross domestic product whenever he engaged in economic activities to earn his living. That person is to be called that gross domestic product of a workers. Why I said that contribute some things toward the gross domestic product? Because a robber, a thief, or the dacoit who works to earn their livelihood, that is not that contributions toward that gross domestic products. So we have already discussed what is economic activities and what is non-economic activities. So the person who is engaged in that economic activities, a worker may be an individual or a person may be individual, he is to be called that worker. He contributes some things toward that gross domestic products by rendering his services, by rendering his productive activities. So you have already known the gross domestic product and gross national product, GDP and GNP. I will not say that more expansion about that GDP and GNP. You have already known that net factor income from abroad. You have already known that net export, that is the export minus import, equal to net exports. So there is the net earning, the difference between imports payments and export receipts is a term at the rate net retained earnings. So whenever there is that positive, there may be the negative, there may be zero. When receipts of exports will be more than that payments of imports, that is that positives, it means GNP will be more as per your books. Similarly, if the receipts and payments will be equal, when receipts from exports are equal to the payment for imports, then there is zero. And when the receipts from exports are less than that of the payments for imports, then that will be the negatives. So these are the different contributors toward the gross domestic products, or we may say that toward the gross national products. Who are all included in the workers? It is generally believed that people who are paid by an employer are workers. However, this is not true, because I am also workers, because I am getting payment from my employers. It also includes not only that who is getting the salaries or the work or the wages from that employer, he is to be called that worker. Those who are that self-employed, remember it, like a shopkeeper, like a barber, like a cobbler, etc. These persons are self-employed, so these people are also to be called as the worker. Be clear. It also includes, I am explaining who is to be called the worker. It also includes not only that, the person who is employed and who is employed under the employers, who is getting the wages and salaries. नंबर वन, इसको भी वर्कर बोलेंगे. नंबर टू, सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड. एक तो हो गया वर्कर, किसको बोलेंगे? वेजेस एंड सैलरी जिसको मिल रहा है. दूसरा हो गया सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड पर्संस, लाइक एग्जांपल दिया एक, सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड लाइक बार्बर, लाइक shopkeeper, like cobbler, anybody who is self-employed. Similarly, the people who remain temporarily absent from work, be clear. It means due to illness, due to injury, or other physical disabilities, bad weather, festivals, socials or religious functions, due to that some other reasons, this is to be also called that workers. It also includes those people who help the main workers. It means all those who are engaged in economic activities, in whatever capacity are workers. So these are to be called that workers in our employment chapter. First we should clear about the meaning of that workers. Thanks to all of you.